Hello, fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the show where we drink alcohol, smoke weed sometimes if you're me, and debate genre fiction, movies, books, and shows, the best we can find in the literary realm, the film realm, with our excellent guests, usually authors or filmmakers themselves. And tonight we have one such author, one CJ Goldberg. CJ, thank you so much for coming on the show, my man. I'm stoked to have you here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
I met CJ in a Richard Thomas writing workshop, and his shit is absolutely stellar. Really terrifying horror, super weird, super dark. And I'm excited to have him on this debate because he has a real knack for just tearing into people in a critique session in a very respectful way. But CJ is very good at tearing things apart. So I'm excited to see if he can tear our boy Ollie apart any further than he already was at the end of this movie. We shall see, but I have faith. Before we do that, we're going to do our usual round of updates and a warning to anybody watching the show. We will spoil everything about Bring Her Back. This is a pretty new movie, so if you haven't seen it yet and you want to before you hear all about it, maybe go away and come back later, because this will be fun regardless of when you listen to it. At least we like to think so. That said, let's do our personal updates. No spoilers here. We're the same usual doofuses aside from CJ. So we'll end with him because he's the interesting one. Let's start with the less interesting people. Travis.
Yeah. I am less interesting. And I don't even have an update about myself. I have to use this slot to tell a news story that I'm incredibly weirded out about. I'll keep it short.
Attaboy.
Warner Brothers put a for sale sign in their yard, figuratively speaking.
That is weird.
Really weird,
I saw
because
that.
they were the number one highest grossing company of 2025. Still are. They've made bank, and Paramount kind of did a little braggart thing where they were like, we can buy you. And they were like, we reject your offer. And everyone was like, yeah, they're just going to reject their offer and move on. And then they turned around and were like, but we'll take some other offers if you got them. So it's weird. They could 100% function without being bought by another company, but maybe they're just trying to strong arm people into paying them a lot of money. But it's usually not how it happens. So I'm just fascinated. I'm watching the story closely because usually it's a production company does terrible and is forced to try and get bought out by one of the big ones. And this is the complete opposite, where they're like, we got all the chips. You want to make a deal? We might take it. And I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah, it's really weird. Frankly, I'm terrified they're going to get sold to some AI fuckhead that's just going to start churning out AI films. It would not surprise me, unfortunately. Let's hope that doesn't happen, just as I'm hoping Jeremy has a really happy and uplifting update. So I have my doubts on that as well.
Well, I wouldn't say I'll let you be the judge of how this makes you feel. Right. Okay. So some viewers may know that I recently got a new job. And at that job, the main thing that comes out of that place is medical devices and stuff made from donated human tissue to help implant those medical devices. It's pretty neato. So that yesterday, a syringe of demineralized bone putty has mysteriously vanished. There are a lot of theories as to what has happened. My favorite theory that I have heard so far is also the theory that I am probably the most worried about, which is that it's been stolen by rats who are using it as a sculpting material. Because that's cool, but I also don't want to find rat sculptures that are made from human bone. Because
Pinky and
I
the
assume
Brain.
that'll change everything.
Pinky and the Brain are up to some weird shit.
Man, I had this storage tub in the backyard of a place outside for a really long time, and
God, what's this about to be?
I went to open it up, and I opened it up, and rats had chewed a hole in the corner, and they had collected dog shit from all of the neighbors' yards and built a giant dog shit sculpture inside my storage bin. So you never know what rats are going to do.
Yeah,
I guess. So
I
wait,
didn't know
what did
they
the sculpture
sculpted it.
look like? Anything, or like was it just a heap?
A heap, a hive. I don't know. A group of rats is called a mischief. So a mischief of rats. Yeah.
I didn't know they.
That's a fun fact right there.
I learned today.
Yeah. So now I'm extra worried.
Let's go. There are some bits of knowledge that you can do without, but knowing that a group of rats is called a mischief and that they build shit sculptures is not one of those things. I'm glad I know that now.
Yeah,
I feel like a better
That's
person.
good.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you,
Yeah,
CJ.
You're
Already
welcome.
contributing.
If you get nothing else out of this episode, at least you have that.
Yeah. Hey, meaningful contributions to the show right out of the fucking gate. We really appreciate you, buddy. I'm not gonna provide nearly as meaningful of a contribution, but I'm gonna try. I don't have one of those sitting up my sleeve. I have a personal update. I think I might finally get another tattoo.
Nice.
And I've thought about this a lot because I have 2 tattoos. And if you get like one and it's not a terrible experience, I think it's kind of addictive. You're like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to put this over here and blah, blah, blah. I've always wanted to get like a nice big piece, but I want to get it somewhere where I won't die. So I'll probably do like my leg or something. But Deanna has a really good tattoo artist. That's my wife. She has a sick full sleeve that she just got from a guy named Dustin. And he's like a award-winning tattoo artist in Seattle. He's pretty hard to get on his books and stuff. But because she was already on them, she was able to just move her deposit over and like get me on the books. So now I have an in with this tattoo artist that people have to wait like a couple years to get to. So now I feel motivated to get a tattoo. And I'm trying to figure out what it's going to be, but I do have a pretty cool idea. And I'm really curious what you're going to think about it, Travis. As you may know, The Witch is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I kind of want to get a cool like witch collage piece because he's like a full piece kind of artist. I thought it'd be sweet to have like Black Phillip and then some witch silhouettes dancing around a massive bonfire. But I do realize that that's literally putting the devil on my leg in a way. So yeah, I'm not sure. What does Jesus think about that? And what do you think about that, bro?
You're asking my opinion
Is he
directly.
damned? If so, how much?
Jesus would not find it kosher according to the book.
Sure.
So, and myself, I would be incredibly cautious.
Yeah, that's
not for like not in any judgmental way. You know, art can look really cool, but yeah, you know, it's like the thing we've talked about with Nosferatu. You call out into the void sometimes, and something might answer that you don't want to. So I find that true with images, in my opinion, as well.
Sure. All right. Well,
That's
I just have to remember not to sign no books. And I should be fine, but we'll see if I'm going to do it. I haven't decided completely yet on what I'm going to get. Something with the witch, and Black Phillip just looks ill as fuck. So we'll see. We'll see.
It's a great movie. Great.
Yeah.
Movie.
Technically, it's a goat. You know what I mean? I don't have to put any. I don't have to necessarily put Bob Bob Black Phillip song on my leg too or anything. But that would also be kind of sick. So that's my personal update. Might get a new tattoo. Have a really good in on one, which motivates me to think about it more. So I've been mulling that over a bit. CJ, in lieu of a personal update, if you want to give us one, feel free. But we'd also like to know who you are and where we can find all your stuff because we know you're a writer. But where can we read what you write?
So you can go to cjgoldberg.com and find a lot of my short stories posted on there. I don't update that website as often as I should, so I'll get on there in the very near future and add some more stuff. I've got a couple new stories coming out. Actually, just signed a contract today for a new one, which I'm excited about.
Nice.
Let's see. I'm currently working on my debut novel, which is taking up much of my time, which has gone through several iterations. I've written like 40,000 words of it and then started over a couple of times, but this time it's sticking. So I'm a good portion of the way through. So hopefully when that one's done, I'll be shopping it around. I've written 4 other novels before that, but this is the first one that I'm actually like trying to get published and trying to get out there in the world.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's what I'm currently working on. The antagonist in it is actually the antagonist in a short story that I had published in the Gabagool anthology by October Nights Press. And it's like a mafia themed anthology. So the novel is like a crime horror matchup. Gabagool, yeah. So I'm excited about that. I've been working on that. I recently moved across the country to I'm now in Olympia, Washington, which is cool. So still getting settled over here. And yeah, that's about it.
Right on.
Nice, man. Well, congrats on making progress on the novel. I know that feeling of when you keep restarting and then finally it sticks and you're like, I think I'll make it to the end this time. That's a great feeling. So I'm glad to hear you've got it.
Yeah, man.
And I can't wait to read a longer work by you, man. I've read quite a few of your short stories now, but I love your style. So I'm excited to check it out when it does come. Let us know. And we'll do everything we can to light the torches for you, you know?
Awesome. Yeah. Sounds good.
Oh, yeah. And before we do that, long before, we're going to do a debate. We're going to do that right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And what we're going to be debating tonight is Bring Her Back. So this is the new movie by the same lads, the same brothers who made Talk to Me, which was a pretty smashing hit. This is kind of their, it feels like it's in the same universe to me, connected universe type of story, but it's definitely, could be argued that it's darker, a little more intense and extreme, perhaps. I've heard that said. We'll see how we really feel about it after we get the Dice Gods' wills. But it's the story of a brother and sister, their stepbrother and sister. Their father dies in a tragic suicide success, I should say. And they are then put into the foster system. And they have to kind of struggle to stay together because the person who adopts the younger sister only wants to adopt the sister, not the brother. So he's kind of on a probationary period with his new foster mother. They get there, and foster mother's unconventional, we'll say. She's a very enthusiastic foster mother, though. She's very, very enthusiastic about her new daughter. And she also seems to also have another foster kid named Ollie, who it doesn't say a lot. Tells us that Ollie is mute. But we will go on to find out why Ollie is mute. And that's actually not the fucking case at all. And that is much, much darker than that. So ultimately, this is a story of found family that you don't really want to find, trying to bring somebody back from the dead. And you'll have to listen to us and then go watch it to find out how all that plays out. Before you do that, though, let's do this debate. Let's ask the Dice Gods for their guidance. Let's ask them for their will. And let's see who will debate for Bring Her Back and who will debate against it. CJ, you ready to roll?
I am ready.
All right.
Am I rolling right now?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. I rolled a 5.
Oh, that's like the third 5 in a row on this show. That's
I
insane.
rolled 17.
Okay.
Oh, this is a relief.
That's
for me.
that's a little bit higher.
Clayton's in the positive seat, and CJ, you're in the negative seat. Are you both ready for
Good luck,
knockdown
sir.
drag out debate? All
Ready.
right. I'm starting the timer in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so if you like Talk to Me, you're going to like this movie because it's a very similar vibe. It's a very similar brand of horror. It's psychological mixed with some body horror, and it draws a lot of its intensity from those bodily elements, those physical horror scares. But it still uses the slow burn kind of techniques, the brooding horror that you're used to seeing in Talk to Me, and that will excite anyone who enjoyed these guys' first movie. This one cranks up to 11 pretty quick. It's one of those movies that you know from the very jump that like things are going to get darker and darker and darker and weirder. But you're along for the ride. And the fact that you know that stuff ahead of time, to me, did not like make any of the punches thereafter less effective or less powerful. I love this movie. It's dark. It is disturbing. It has really well fleshed out characters that we explore the world through. And there's adversity and stakes and tension at every single corner. And I'm sure CJ is going to try to pretend that everything I just said isn't true. So I'll get specific after he tries to do that, because there's lots of examples upon which I can build this argument. But really, like, the truth is that this movie fucking rocks. CJ, don't you agree?
No, I don't. Well, actually, that's not true, because I do agree with a lot of what you say. So like, I have to give credit where credit is due. Like, the character work in this movie is fantastic. And especially with like Sally Hawkins' portrayal of Laura in this thing, off the charts. I'll give you that much. But the writing is absolutely atrocious. The thing does not, the thing does like not come together at all. And honestly, like, if you're looking at what actually happens in this movie and how the lore comes together, the answer is that it doesn't, because the movie started out as one thing, and then they changed it halfway through production. And what happened was none of it lined up. So, and there's evidence in the film for this. Like, the main line that is like the smoking gun in this is when they drag Ollie across, when Andy drags Ollie across the line, and Laura comes running out of the car and she says, "Why is she outside?" And you go, well, why is Laura calling Ollie a she? And it's because in the script, up until that point, Ollie was the vessel for her dead daughter, Kathy. But then the producers of the writers of this did not like the way that was going, and they slapped this other lore on in the second half of the movie and did this stupid thing with subtitles in the video that said like, oh, these are the new rules, and actually you have to like eat somebody and vomit the soul and blah blah blah. But up until that point, it was an entirely different story, and they changed it, and then none of those elements came together. It was absolute rubbish.
I mean, I think they still came together. It doesn't really feel to me like how the vessel is, shall we say, evacuated, transferred from one to another. How does that play into the emotional impacts of the daughter being in a failed vessel that the mother's experiencing? To me, that's the heart of the story, and the rest is semantics. So it's like okay that those things are a little different. I'll credit you. The subtitles over the weird like dark internet video are a bit cheap, but like other than that, I don't see a problem with those two things not lining up.
The problem was that the relationship that Laura had with Ollie throughout was this maternal relationship where she's being overly protective of her and treating her as her daughter. But then they changed their mind at some point in the film, so it negated all of that emotional build that they had building up to that point, which like you can't do, because that connection that she had. And then like, aside from that aspect of it, like, let's look at like what actually this character is doing. What is the point of gaslighting Andy this entire time if she's just going to hit him with a car at the end of the thing? Like, he was passed out drunk in a bed. She opened his eyes. She dumped piss on his lap. Like, if that didn't wake him up, what kept her from slitting his throat at that point, dragging him out into the woods, and telling the girl that couldn't see, well, I don't know where Andy went. Like, there was no point to the entire movie.
I mean, I do agree with that. It would have been a much more efficient disposal method to just let Ollie eat Andy and to kill him earlier. But you were talking earlier about like emotional buildup and connection with characters, and you can't kill Andy because he's your only character that you're really connecting with, the brother and the sister. But like, there was no emotional buildup for the mom. She was bananas from the minute you walk in the door, and there's no like real evidence that she treated Ollie like her daughter. She treated Ollie, if anything, just exactly how you would treat a vessel that hasn't yet fruited, like born fruit. Because like, Ollie's just outside standing in the pool, like 1,000-yard stare. And the only reason she runs out to even introduce Ollie to the new foster kids is because Ollie's about to eat her fucking cat. Like, there's more emotional buildup with the cat in her than there is her and Ollie.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of arguing my point a little bit there, that there's like no emotional buildup with Laura, and that she's this flat character that
I am arguing
really
that
have
there's
an arc. So
I am arguing that there's no emotional buildup to destroy. That is what I'm arguing. To be clear.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. So I can give a little bit of ground there, but that doesn't like fix the fact that the setup for the story never comes into play at the end. Like, they do all of this stuff. Like, there's no indicator that Ollie is this bird character until like the second half of the story, when they've decided, oh wait, we need to somehow try to figure out how to put all of these elements together. And they didn't. I mean, if you're looking at like the cult aspect of this movie too, like none of these things were actually connected, and you didn't end up like the hook in this movie is like the cult video, and they're like filming this cult video thing, but then the cult doesn't actually like play a role in the film. So why are you using a cult as your hook if the cult isn't playing a role in the film, other than the fact that like we need some weird magical thing and we want to show a bunch of men's penises, which is like another aspect of this movie that I didn't understand really. Like, do we really need that framing of dad in the shower? I don't think so.
I will say they would have done that with like an attractive woman, so I give them props.
Yeah,
way to show some full frontal male nudity. Let's equal this thing out.
And kudos to dad. So there was like a lot of aspects that didn't really connect or like come into being. And then I'll go into like another big issue that I had with this was like the convenience points where like things happen conveniently for the purposes of the plot. Like for example, when Andy first shows up at the house and he has the cell phone and he's like texting with the other person, and they need Laura to look at the messages on the phone. So this teenage boy leaves his cell phone face up on the bench next to him and walks away. Like, no teenage boy is walking away from their phone like that. They're attached to their phone. That's absolutely ridiculous. And then like the social worker takes Andy out to the house at the end of the movie, but then tells him like, you need to stay in the car. Like, why is she taking him out to the house if he needs to stay in the car? Why wouldn't he just stay at the place? It's because the plot needed Andy to be at the house, which like there was like all of these moments over and over and over again that happened throughout the film that were for the purpose of the plot rather than like logically making sense with what is happening.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that, especially with the social worker stuff. Like, there's plenty of that that we could get into. But I think the disjointed nature of it was part of what made it scary and honestly brought it to a more realistic place for me. Like, what's more terrifying than this crazy ass lady trying to do her own like exorcism ritual off the
Shut
internet?
up, Clay. Well,
Yeah, everybody cram it.
It's drink of the week here on Fermented Fiction.
This is
great debate. Great debate. I got a lot to say, CJ. You poked holes in my baby.
Yeah, I love this movie.
They were good, but anyway, good holes. We got some good discussion to have.
Good
before
holes. We can all feel good about you having said that.
Yeah. Before we do that, we gotta talk about what we're drinking tonight, what everybody's got in their hands. I'm very excited. I don't have a specific drink, but a kind of drink. It's a very simple cocktail that I didn't know the ratios until my wife, who recently got promoted as a bartender, told me the ratios. So I now know how to make my own Manhattans, and she also got the best for the Manhattan. So I'm having a Manhattan. I love Manhattan.
You didn't feel like Googling that prior? Okay.
No, I just let the professionals do it for me.
That's how you end up in a cult, Jeremy. Just like this lady from Bring It Back.
How to make a Manhattan. No,
I don't think any amount of Googling is going to land me at a Russian cult VHS tape.
Yeah, there's an amount.
And a cult instructional video on how you rub circles on someone's head.
Yeah.
You know,
Is it clockwise or counterclockwise?
I would hope you have to know somebody.
You got to do it right. Jeremy,
clockwise for humans, counterclockwise for demons.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of the eBay rabbit holes, what are you drinking? I don't know what that tangent was, but
yeah, it's like whatever, man. So, this this film is something very, very special in a way, and I think that now, Travis, calm down. Don't worry,
Let's not do this again.
You can calm down, okay?
Let's not do this again.
This comes with a little bit of backstory, because initially I was going to try and find the whiskey that they drink in the drinking game, which doesn't exist. It's that's probably for the best. Nobody wants to put their name on this crazy lady is contributing to the delinquency of minors, and we love that.
Yep.
Very few brands are gonna just do that. But when I first looked up this movie to see where to watch it, the first thing that came up was, of course, the movie. Literally, the second thing that came up was a Reddit post that said, "I finally got to watch Bring Her Back, and I feel terrible." So I'm drinking something to help me feel better. So I'm bringing back the Old Forester 1920 because, I think we all need to feel better.
Yeah.
From this.
I feel great.
I'm sure you do.
Clayton?
I feel great too. And I think my drink's just going to make me feel better. It's a classic. It's Old Rasputin. So this is an Imperial Stout from San Jose, California. It's delicious. And I picked it because this guy is definitely in that video.
Rasputin 100%. Was definitely performing some weird ceremonies in his day.
Absolutely. Easily. And B, their catchphrase, their tagline is "Never say die."
Yeah.
So, they took a page out of old Raspy's book here in this movie, and I thought I would do the same.
The man who allegedly got a ice pick to the face and killed the attackers and walked his ass back to the hospital. That guy, he was doing some Bring Her Back stuff.
Oh yeah, the O-est of G's for sure.
CJ, what are you drinking?
So I was looking for a grapefruit IPA, and I couldn't find one. So they're not in season right now. I thought that a grapefruit IPA would be perfect with the device that they used in the film with grapefruit, meaning the truth and all of that. But so I ended up buying this Fremont Extra Lush triple IPA, which is a brewery out of Seattle. I figured just moved to Washington, I should give it a try, and it's pretty good.
Nice.
I'm enjoying it. And it helps that it's like 9.8% alcohol or something like that. So I'm working on the fermented part of Fermented Fiction.
All right.
Someone's got to do it. Fremont's a great choice. It's one of my favorite breweries. If you are ever in the Seattle area, it's just the south end of North Seattle area, right on the other side of the water. It's really nice.
Cool.
Definitely recommend it. And there's a rock climbing gym down the street.
It's my first time having it, so I like it.
Heck yeah. Well, while you all sip on those bevies and enjoy some fermenting, I got a few facts for us. Luckily, this movie's pretty brand new, so I didn't have to like hunt for the best facts because there's not very many facts yet. IMDb kind of takes time for itself to ferment before you get like the really, really fun stuff. One of the coolest ones is right at the top. Sora Wong had 0 acting experience professionally. Her mom found an ad for a casting call on Facebook for visually impaired people, and she just tried it out, and I think she knocked it out of the park. I think she did a great job. Pretty cool for that being like her first big role. This one's hilarious. The Filippo brothers were originally going to direct a 2023 Street Fighter movie. But they abandoned that project to make this movie, and I really want to see the Filippo brothers Street Fighter movie now. I think that would be hilarious. This movie was filmed in only 41 days, which is damn impressive for how good it looks. The dad, who played the father of Andy and Piper, that actor is the actual father of Ollie, the actor that plays Ollie, which is cool. There's a website that you're never going to see me visit, but for all of you, I'm just going to say it, for all you freaks out there that want to like see more of this, blackangeltapes.net apparently provides further insight as to how Laura came to own the ritual tape, what the circular motion means, and more of the video. So if you want to watch more of the crazy Russian people and male nudity, there's a website for that. Just go on IMDb's trivia, because I'm not saying the website address again. Once was enough. They originally had a bigger finale planned. It was going to be like this scarier, kind of gorier, more kind of, I don't know how you describe it, more like disgusting ending that wasn't really happy or emotional. Not that this one was happy, but it was definitely emotional. But there, unfortunately, had a really close friend that the dedication at the end of the movie is to, Harley Wallace. He died at only the age of 23 while they were filming, so they rewrote the end because they just didn't feel like kind of going over the top with the gore and the violence with that finale. So they changed the ending of the movie to honor their friend. They do, Clayton, you said it at the beginning, but confirmed by the directors, the 2 movies are in the same universe, and they intend to tie them together somehow in the future. And that, I have one more here before getting into the box office, and that is just that anyone who doesn't know the Danny and Michael Filippo, the directors, they got their start on YouTube with a channel called Raka Raka. I've never watched it, so full transparency there, but apparently it was quite popular with fake fail videos, and like they had a Harry Potter versus Star Wars video that had 7 million views, and won them the trip to the US and bunch of stuff. So it's kind of this new rise of this being a trend where YouTubers are getting a chance and making actual like feature-length films, and a lot of them are knocking it out of the park. There's a reviewer that has a horror movie coming out soon, Chris Stuckman. He's got a horror film coming out. He's made a living off of reviewing films on YouTube. So it's like not super common yet, but it's definitely gaining some traction that YouTube can be an avenue for creatives to get into the Hollywood scene, which is pretty cool. Anyone have any other facts before I talk about le box office?
No.
I do not have facts. None from you, CJ?
I mean, not really. Like hearing the reasoning why the ending of this thing was rewritten makes me feel bad about tearing the thing apart in the way that I did. But like, it really didn't come together in that way. So like knowing that was the reason they decided to rewrite the ending. But for me, like watching the film and not knowing that and seeing like those elements not adding up and all of these things like not coming into play. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that.
We don't know how much was changed. I mean, it could have been literally just the ending. Like all the other things maybe wouldn't have tied up originally anyway. So I don't think I think it's a fair critique that, you know.
Right. For sure. I mean, you always like, you critique the work. You're not critiquing the artist. Yeah. And in critiquing the work, there's definitely major plot holes in this piece that, I didn't see in Talk to Me. So I loved Talk to Me. Like I thought Talk to Me was awesome. And watching that movie really made me want to watch this one. And then this one, I guess I'm not even supposed to say how I feel about this one yet. Sure. But okay, I'm done. I'll drink my extra lush and keep my mouth shut.
We're going right to you, CJ, after one more fact, and that is this is our first, not dud, but not technically success. So box office for this one's a little weird. 2.5 times the production budget is the industry standard. This made 2.2 times its production budget. So considering an A24 film, like a $17 million payoff is pretty damn good, but technically not like smashing hit. So it's kind of just, it cruised right in the middle there of like, didn't do too bad, could have done better.
Yeah.
But I also like I kind of count it as a success because like the stomach it takes for people to watch a movie like this, I'm not surprised it didn't get great word of mouth because it's hard to suggest a film like this to people, especially in theaters. Like I wasn't going out to all my friends and being like, you have to make it to Bring Her Back right now. I was going to like a select few friends and being like, you really should watch Bring Her Back. You should.
Yeah,
like you should never.
Very
watch
specific recommendation. I can't even tell my wife what this movie is about.
Yeah, it's a rough one. So I think for that, for what it is pretty. That's a pretty good paycheck that it collected.
It's very much in the vein of Pet Sematary, right? It's like the idea of grief as horror and the lengths that you would go to bring back a loved one that you lost. So like that in itself, just like that emotional core, I feel like was very, very well done in this movie. There was a lot of stuff that was very, very well done in this movie. Like talk to Clay about this, but like I'm very good about tearing plot holes in things and ripping things apart and doing all of that, but that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy it. So I actually like, well, I'm jumping the gun again.
Just tell us how I feel. You're not jumping the gun. It is your time to shine.
This is okay. Actually time. You're doing great. Flawless transition.
So I actually like really, really enjoyed this film. And my first time through watching it, it was like all enjoyment. I don't know if enjoyment is the right word for it because it's like gut wrenching
immersion
immersion, and especially Sally Hawkins' performance in this thing as Laura. Like she was absolutely phenomenal as this unhinged woman. And like,
not to interrupt you, but real quick, I'm calling it now on Fermented Fiction. She's going to be the biggest Oscar snub of the year. She won't even get a nom, and she did so amazing. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah, man, she was absolutely phenomenal in this movie, and like the empathy that she shows, and her range in that, and like the fact that she can go from one scene to being like this super caring person and so empathetic, and you just see it and you feel for her loss and you see her connection to these kids and all of that. And then in the very next scene, she's just completely fucking unhinged and peeing in a cup and dumping it on the kid's crotch. And you're going like, what is she doing? And it's so horrific. And like, I just like chef's kiss with her performance in this.
When she punches Piper in the eye.
Oh man,
that is so great. That is a dark ass scene that's like comedic at the same time. Like,
and
it's crazy.
The heart she can get to. I think you pointed to that too, CJ. I think the scene where it almost like choked me up is when the therapist realizes what's going on and she's like about to leave and go tell people, and she's like clutching her coat and just like saying like, you knew my daughter. Like, you knew my daughter. I can
like,
bring
we
her.
can
like,
do this. We can bring her back. Yeah, man.
Like that scene, I was like, oh my, like it didn't forgive anything, but there was a moment where I was like, okay, like I get it a little. like that's a level of connection that I haven't felt, and that she's showing me that I can see like, okay, yeah, maybe you do some real messed up shit for that kind of love.
Right. And I don't know if any of you are parents, but like as a parent too, like having that connection to your kids, and knowing like for myself that I would do anything for my children, like you can empathize with her, and you like know how painful that would have been, and like all of that. So in that regard, like absolutely phenomenal. I thought the emotional core of this movie and like thematically it was just spot on and well done all the way through, and her performance in particular carried me through.
Clay, did you lie at all, or what are your thoughts on bringing her back?
I didn't really lie too much. I was very immersed in this movie, like CJ's talking about. And it was a movie that actually made me squeamish, like the knife scene did. I've just like worked in kitchens for a while. So I have like in my mind just the sharpness of that knife being bitten on.
Yeah.
Oh,
dude, I have I have no line. Like there's like no, like people talk about like, no, I can't handle that. Like I have no line. There was a couple of like the real gory moments in this that I was like cracking up laughing, and the knife scene was one of them. I'm like, why is he eating the knife? Like it was so ridiculous, over the top. Like there was a couple of moments in it. The other one was when he's like taking the bite out of the table.
yeah.
And I couldn't help but laugh in that spot, because it's like, why is he eating the table? Does the table have a soul that he's gonna vomit into somebody else? Like there's no reason why he would eat a table, but he's like chomping on the table. And granted, like the body horror and the practical effects that they did in it were awesome and super gory and cool, but like as far as how it connected to the story, it just didn't work. Like, well, like why are you doing that? Why are you eating your own arm? Like, why? You're supposed to be eating other people. Like you're just eating your own arm to gross us out. There's no point of it.
Yeah, bro, you eating the wrong parts.
That's
and
true.
You gotta aim better.
Yeah. Well, why did he keep trying to eat the cat? Is he trying to vomit the cat soul into somebody, or the chicken? Somebody just give the guy some chicken.
Yeah, it does seem like that would be a lot easier for sure, and a lot more fucked up. A lot less fucked up, I mean. Yeah, I agree that stuff is ridiculous, but frankly, it just worked on me. I enjoyed it, and I was like, I knew the kid was going to go hard, but the knife did kind of catch me off guard. And it definitely, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It worked on me. I think this movie does a really good job of working on you. And it pulls you in and you're really along for the ride. So I loved it, honestly.
You know what moment really caught me off guard in this movie that like I was not expecting at all is when she plows into him with the car and then drowns Andy, because like he was the protagonist of the film up until that point, and you're expecting him to pull through and you're expecting it to be like him triumphant. And when that moment happened, I was just like, what? Like, where are they going with this? Like, how are they doing that? So that moment, again, like I thought that was awesome the way that they did that, because it really subverted expectations of where this movie was going to be going.
Yeah, I have so many questions. I want to go back to one of the earlier points you make, and hopefully I don't lose the one I just thought of from that. But I really want to get this one on the table, and that is kind of about what you and Clay said of like, it's hard to say you like a movie like this. I was just talking with my boss, who he was reading The Death of Ivan Ilyich in the like teacher's lounge, and I was like, oh, like great book. But then I was like, I don't know if it's hard to call The Death of Ivan Ilyich like good. it's so dark and just bleakly depressing, but it's really well written, and it's a story that's really important, and it says a lot about modernity. So like to that same vein, movies like this, stories like this, I keep coming across them, especially in the horror genre, of like, people ask me, did you like it? And I'm like, yes. Was it good? Good is hard to say. Like, it's immersive, it's well made, it's completely involves you in the story, but it's disturbing and it's hard to watch and it's not pleasant. And so I guess two questions for you, CJ, and for the panel. As a writer, when you're walking into that territory, does it feel the same as an author, getting those kind of dark things out as a page as it does for the reader, of being like, I am disturbed, but also pleasantly so in a way? And then question number two, just kind of what are some of your favorite projects that have had that same effect on you of, this is great, but that doesn't mean it's like pleasant or good in a sense.
Yeah, so I think that we sort of all come to fiction for different reasons, and you come to fiction to sort of like feel things or have an understanding of human experience. And for me with the horror genre, especially, a lot of it is about how when you're presented with this absolutely like awful thing, how the human spirit triumphs, or like how it comes out the other side after the most extreme experience imaginable. And I think that that's kind of what draws me to horror in general. And I'm sorry. So your question was about when you're writing or you're creating, do you experience that sort of same thing, like when you're like diving into a really, really dark moment in a story or something like that? And my answer would be that I don't know what my answer is in that regard. It's kind of just where my imagination goes. And I think that I'm completely lost and I'm rambling right now. So when I write a really, really dark moment in something, I'm pretty much just like entertaining myself and seeing where it goes. And I don't tend to write a lot of gore. A lot of my work is more about the unease and not understanding what is real and what is not, and the horror that is involved in that. So when it comes to like really dark, gory stuff, when that does come up in my fiction, it's for the purposes of the story, and the story can't work otherwise. Does that answer what you're saying at all?
I think so. Like, I'm kind of thinking of, I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Maya Angelou, but I think I'm completely wrong on that. There was some author from the South that talked about how it was like she had to like run to her house to get the pen and paper because it was like something that was like chasing her through the fields, and she had to like, if she didn't get to the pen and paper, it would go through her and like leave, and she would feel empty. And so I'm kind of getting that same sense of like, it's something that you're doing that just has to be done. Am I on there a little bit, or?
Yeah, I think so. Like the antagonist in the novel that I'm currently writing is she is a psychic entity of sorts. And you could call her a medium, but the way that she functions is by sewing the tongues of the dead into her mouth, and the mob controls her. And it's basically the idea of like what would happen if the mob could make you talk after you were dead. And that horror, like that aspect of it, I feel like draws readers in, and they like see the horror, but then they also see like how that's connected to the story, and like what that means as a whole and thematically. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then
I enjoy writing my scary scenes. Like, I almost get like a little bit of an adrenaline rush. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a full-on adrenaline rush, but I do get excited. And one of the reasons I love horror is I love those moments that are scary, the lurking moments, the emerging from the shadows moments in horror. And that's kind of where most of the scary stuff in my stories peaks. So I love exploring that sort of feeling and those emotional vibes of all the characters together in the same space as whatever they're against, and how they react to it. And that it's a fun, organic place to write from. But then I often go back and read it, and I'm like, I don't like that very much.
Yeah, a lot of times I'm writing to like a lot of times I'm writing like to scare myself. I think that that's lacking in a lot of fiction and a lot of horror in general. Like, it's not really meant to be scary. Like, I don't know about you guys, but did you find this film scary? I did not. Talk to Me, I thought, was a much scarier film than Bring Her Back. I thought that there was a lot more of that creeping dread, but I didn't really feel the creeping dread in here. I just more felt like the emotional wreckage that is happening. Sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think I completely agree with that. Like this is a movie that is like masterfully made with like great character moments and performances and camera work and everything, and I'm never going to watch it again. Frankly, I didn't finish watching it this first time because of, well, I'll say specifically because of like Ollie eating a countertop and pulling skin off his own arm. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be done with this, actually. But it's this thing of like, it's incredible. And I think everyone has their own rules for what is and is not okay. But while you're like writing, that's not really where your head should be at. Your head should, especially when you're trying to scare, people, the first person you do have to scare is yourself.
But I think that I think the interesting point of what you're saying there is the moments that really like turned you off of this film are the moments of gratuitous gore that are not connected to the storyline and what is happening. So like if for some reason it was really, really justified that Ollie take a bite out of this table and bust his teeth off and do this horrific thing with splinters, if he needs to eat trees for the purposes of the story, I don't think that you would necessarily feel the same way about like not wanting to watch it again. I think a good example of that is a film like Midnight Meat Train. I don't know if any of you watch Midnight Meat Train, based on the Clive Barker short story, which is phenomenal and everybody should read because the short story like had a point, but the gore in the film was just there for gore's sake. And I think that with this movie, Bring Her Back, the emotional core was so strong that when they did things with the gore, when they did things just for the shock value, it really takes you out of the story and is off-putting in some way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm gonna push back a little on this point that we've talked about, because maybe I just filled in the blanks from the specific lens I'm approaching literally every piece of art from, which is kind of a theological lens of like, what are, specifically with horror, I'm always looking at like, okay, what is this saying about evil? What is this saying about entities of evil? And I kind of filled in the blanks for a lot of the gory scenes and a lot of what Ollie does, of like this thing that the mother, Sally Hawkins' character, I forgot her name. One sec, I'll get there. Laura, thank you. This thing that Laura has brought into the world, she wants to serve a purpose, and I love when horror movies do this. I think Nosferatu did it really well. I think pretty much everything Robert Eggers has made done it really well. We think we can control like this realm outside of us, and we bring it in for these specific purposes, and we're like, do our bidding, and they don't function on the same rules. And I think that's kind of what I filled in the blanks with the like eating the table and the knife, is like, it just has a voracious appetite. It doesn't care what it's eating. It needs to feed. And I think she just like, there's moments in the movie that point to that, like when he eats the whole fridge, he's constantly trying to eat the cat. He just wants to do what he's been brought into the world to do. And she keeps holding him back from the freezer and saying like, not yet. And he's like, you don't understand. I don't function on your rules. I just eat. Like,
but that wasn't until the rewrite. Like, and that was the big issue that I had with the movie, because through the whole first part of the movie, that's not the way that Ollie functioned. And she even like had the moment where she's like giving Ollie the bath after he has the hand injury, where she's saying like, I just need to know that you're in there, sort of deal. So the rules that were established early on in the film were that Kathy, or basically what they were trying to do with it, or at least my understanding of what they were trying to do with it, is that she brought this entity back thinking that she had put her daughter into this vessel, but in actuality, she put something else into this vessel. And as the story progressed, the demon inside this boy became stronger and stronger and started to take over, and that voracious appetite that he had was taking over. But then at some point in the production, most likely, like what you were saying about the interesting fact and their friend dying and changing the ending of it, they said, we have to make these elements work. So what if he's trying to put it in to this girl, because we need to have the girl, and we need to have Piper and Andy connected to the storyline in some way. So like what you're talking about, like, works if you're looking at it independently for the second half of the movie, but it doesn't work for the first half of the movie, where the reality of the situation was Laura's character was basically saying, like, I think that my daughter is in this vessel and I need to take care of her, and that was her emotional connection to it. I mean, that's my like view on what was going on with it anyway. I could be completely wrong.
It's fascinating that, like, I see that now. I'm not saying like it's not there. But when I initially watched it, I did not see it. I saw it as an intentional twist and kind of trope subversion of, like, because when I watched the trailer, I was like mad that we saw Ollie. I was like, why are you showing me Ollie? Because I was like, they're giving away the whole thing of like, that's the daughter. And then when it wasn't, I was like, oh, they showed us Ollie in the trailer because they were confident enough that we wouldn't see this like twist coming. So I definitely saw that differently.
Well, the sort, like I said in the debate portion, the smoking gun in this film is actually that moment when Laura comes rushing out of the car and she says, why is she outside? Because there's no reason other than her believing that her daughter is inside Ollie at that point for that line to be, why is she outside? Because none of the ritual elements have taken place at that point in the movie. Ollie has not yet had his frozen dinner in the
his TV dinner,
his TV dinner in the shed. So there would be no reason for that character to say she, unless she believed at that point that the daughter was already in that vessel. So like there was a discrepancy in the mythology and the way that the film worked, which is why it really fell apart for me.
You know, I could see the argument that until Ollie has his frozen dinner and all that, I could see it that Laura understands that that's what's happening, even though it seems pretty clear that it's just super not. Like, Ollie is this temporary vessel with the soul of her daughter, even though, no, just a hungry boy. But I mean,
maybe not.
It boy. Also, like, I don't mind Ollie's appetite, like, and him trying to eat just everything he comes into contact with, and the addition, because like him needing to consume something and then vomit it into another person, just to me explains why Andy and Piper are there at all. Speaking as someone who did not finish watching the movie, and to me, it was all adding up right to the point where I turned it off and I was like, well, that's enough of that. Which could have been avoided if you maybe replaced Ollie with someone who maybe deserved all the horrible things that happened to him. But no, it's just a random child.
Yeah, I think that they definitely could have done a lot more character building with Ollie in particular. Sorry, go ahead, Clay.
Yeah, you can do it.
I actually disagree with that. I think the characters are very intentionally built, very well built, and I think all that chaos from Demon Ollie, from Laura, and even from within our like protagonist family that we're rooting for, it's all intentional. Like, the whole point of this movie is that when this kind of disaster strikes you and those that you love, you don't know how to react. And everybody's doing it for the first time. And everybody in this movie is doing this shit for the first time. Like, Demon Ollie whatever demon that is, this is his first time on Earth for sure. It's just
And he's hungry.
He's hungry. He says he knows he has some rules, but he can't leave the salt. And he's like, the fuck is going on? And so once in a while he tries to eat different things, and it turns horrifying. And I think Ollie just kind of represents the way other people are affected by like the trauma around them from their like close circle. And especially you kind of have two worlds colliding too, which is an effective story device. And so you've got everybody kind of has a team, and even though they're sort of enveloped by each other, you still have a couple of different pockets to explore and different dynamics to root for or cheer against, because you definitely don't like want Laura to succeed, but you also do have to feel a little bad for her, for sure. And they did a good job of small world building moments. They were like pretty loud and pretty obvious, but that's okay. Like they were still effective and they felt organic. Like when she just blatantly says, oh, she worked here for like 32 years and she would never do that. That's why I don't believe you, kid. You know? And it's a great line. It's a good moment that like says a lot about her character. So there's lots of like redemption sort of woven in there, but it's never strong enough to overpower like what she's doing and how fucked up it is. So I think there's really good balance in this movie, really good storytelling in a lot of places.
You know, I'm going to push back on
that's
you.
what I'm saying, Jeremy.
I'm going to push back ever so slightly and say that, you know, you would think, you know, sure, everybody's going through this for the first time, but you would think that a counselor with like 30 years of experience or whatever would maybe know when it's time to go to therapy instead of like,
you know,
just weighing the options like,
should I
go to therapy or should I just look into this Russian cult that I've found?
She's been in therapy for 32 years, and I bet she's never seen someone resurrected in therapy. You know, she was like, that's not going to work.
That will not bring her back.
I still want to know where you get one of these instructional videos.
Yeah. I don't. There's a website though.
I know that, but there's a website and it's right on IMDb.
It's on IMDb.
Now you can actually Google your way to it, so that's good.
I hope there's not an actual video out there that gives you an instruction manual on this. Honestly, there probably is. There's some.
There certainly is.
There certainly is. I want to leave. We're gonna go into our 5-minute break. I hope, Clay.
Yes, we are.
But I want to leave us. I'm gonna try this out this time. A question to think of for the 5-minute break. So percolate in the mind as you're probably emptying your bladder or something. So we
don't get a break. We have homework now.
You have homework. I'm giving you homework. And the question is to go into the break. I'm stalling because I forgot the exact wording that I had with all the conversation we just had. Yes.
See?
Plot
this
holes.
Is bringing back all over.
Plot holes and vibe. I kind of want to talk about that when we come back. Is like, how much are we willing to allow? Because I think you're right, CJ. I never noticed that smoking gun. That really does point to like, hey, maybe they just missed that in the script, or how much are we willing to tolerate when the feeling and the overall theme of the movie is good enough when it comes to the minute details of specific plot devices and plot holes possibly being present, and then maybe think on that, and we'll start with you, CJ, when we come back. But Clay, you got that 5-minute break ready with the homework? You're muted.
Bro, you muted still.
I got it ready. You guys can head out. All right, I'll get it going.
We'll be back in 5, people.
Fermented folks, welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the first of our new season, and I believe it's season 4. The show where we drink beer and argue with each other and bring on really awesome creative guests.
If you'll permit me to go a little bit outside the box. Once upon a time, apparently people used to sniff mummy remains, powdered mummy remains like cocaine. So I think 3 lines of powdered mummy remains, if you can get to that as well. Yeah, that'll get you right to really enjoy the movie, you know.
Dave told us all about making a mead, and I talk shit about Tom Bombadil, as I am wont to do whenever people bring up Lord of the Rings.
You would. You should.
And then that's
Everybody
exactly what he
freaking
made.
chill about Tom Bombadil, or I'll get unreasonably upset.
So, in your assessment, what did you think of the everyone kind of paired off, or at least a number of people did, romantically? How'd you feel about that? Did that seem really forced and dumb to you, or?
Tom Bombadil is a merry old fellow with his bright blue jacket and his boots are yellow. Right?
It's our yellow.
Right.
Imagine discovering mummy remains and oh my God, these ancient figures. Dude, what if we crushed this and snorted it, yo? I bet we'd get fucked up.
Let's talk for a moment about the fucking all-star cast in this movie. We have Ewan McGregor slaughtering it the entire time, main character energy, top to bottom. You can't argue with it. Women want him, men want him, everybody wants Ewan McGregor. Okay? If you don't agree with that, you're lying to yourself.
Apparently she had a backstory, but they cut it because she's very hard-nosed at the beginning. And then I will say another pro of this movie is their chemistry is hot. And I feel if they didn't have that chemistry, I would have been ugh. Because she says at one point, she's oh, it's the apocalypse. What are we going to do? Fuck. And he's and then later when they are kissing, if they didn't have chemistry and if it was 2 lesser actors, I think it would have been an eye roll, felt cheesy, but you feel their bond.
The Langoliers themselves were originally going to be portrayed by puppets, and I think maybe they should have. Maybe they should have.
Dude, that's amazing.
There's no maybe about that.
And I wish that I could say that there was something greater happening here than the war diary of a broken man living as sort of this White Tower academic with all of his friends sitting inside the Eagle and Child drinking beer and pretending Magic Lion Jesus isn't really silly. Because, it is. If we can just all be very honest with each other.
The Lord's work out there. Good job.
I like to think that I am. Most people aren't big enough, but I am. I'm willing to step up, you know?
Yeah. Dedicate
Still,
that time. You're willing to dedicate that time.
The time, the money, all of it.
That was so painful. It's one of those painful things.
Oh, that
I've
was
done in
so
my
good.
life.
That was so good. We've never been so savagely attacked by any author on their show. It's incredible. Oh yeah, is this anybody else's jam right now?
That 5-minute break video makes me see my old beard and be do I need to bring that back? I'm not sure.
There's a ritual for it online.
There's a ritual for it. So
I think the ritual is just shaving the mustache and starting from scratch. Otherwise, you look really weird for a while.
I'm
just slowly make a clockwork circle on your forehead, and the beard grows back.
Yeah.
Bring the beard back.
That's how you bring it back. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Welcome back, everybody, to Fermented Fiction. Before we left, I asked the question of, is there a line where plot holes upset theme too much and you can't tolerate it? What is that line? Is it probably varies person to person, but CJ, where is it for you? And because you said you enjoyed this movie, but you definitely have some legitimate concerns with it. How far would it have had to go before it lost your interest?
You know, so with this movie, I didn't think that the plot holes were. I don't know. So I felt like the plot of this film was complex enough, and you were trying to put the pieces together enough that like you get to the end of it and you're like, well, I didn't fully understand exactly how all of that stuff worked, but it kind of came together, and that's like on a single viewing of the film. So like with this one, if I were watching this for personal enjoyment rather than with the thought that I was going to critique it, I didn't think that the plot holes were extreme enough that I would have like turned it off or had a problem with it. And when I finished it my first time through, I was like, oh yeah, that was a pretty solid film. I didn't think it was spectacular, but I enjoyed it enough that I didn't feel like I had wasted the last 2 hours of my life. But if you're looking at it as like a piece of art, right, and you're like holding it up to actual scrutiny, I think that no amount of plot holes are acceptable. Like if you're truly creating something that is going to last forever, like if you're looking at like some of the great, I'm doing films because more people have seen films than read books, but like like The Thing, I don't know if you can like really pick apart The Thing and find glaring plot holes in The Thing. Might be a fun exercise to try, but it's a absolutely like it's beyond reproach. Like a lot, like there's stuff that's beyond reproach. This movie, it's not. By the time you get to, so I watched this thing 3 times. I watched it once just for enjoyment. I watched it a second time just sort of thinking about what the critiques are of it, and then the third time I watched it through, I took a bunch of notes on what was happening in the story. And it wasn't really until the third time through that I was like, well, that's a plot hole, that's a plot hole, that's a plot hole, this doesn't make sense. By the time I got to the third viewing of this, I enjoyed the movie a lot less because there's really no reason why Laura should be gaslighting Andy and Piper through this entire movie. There's no reason for it. They could have shown up, she could have offed Andy and then drowned Piper in the pool. There was no reason to bond with these children. Why is she pretending to be empathetic? Why is she pretending to do all of these things throughout the entire film? So the entire premise of this movie does not hold up under scrutiny. So, but I enjoyed it the first time through. So how much of plot holes am I willing to tolerate? Apparently a lot, because the whole movie doesn't work if you actually like examine it, whereas you can watch the entire thing and like it.
Yeah, and I think you point to, I mean, there's a reason why tight has become one of the best like adjectives to attribute to a script. Like, oh, that's a tight script. It's a tight story because it's like got all the little things like figured out and all the nuts and bolts kind of tightened up. So I think that's a good point you made about The Thing, or the one I always point to, No Country for Old Men. Like these ones that last in our minds are probably the ones that you could watch it 25 times and you still would be hard pressed to find a little detail that's off. But Jeremy,
I'm gonna maybe go another way with this, because like in my experience, basically nothing is devoid of holes. Because like even with this movie, which I have said is great and I'm never going to watch it again or even finish watching it the first time, it begins from the flawed premise of like trying to bring somebody back to life. Even though, when is it ever okay in fiction to bring someone back to life, excluding Dragon Ball, where that's just fine?
You can't exclude Dragon Ball.
You kind of need to for this one. Can you just you're
Well,
here.
you
let's
said
bring it-
when in fiction. It sounds like we found when in fiction.
found
And then I said excluding that.
You don't get to do that. You
Supernatural.
found it.
Exception
You don't get
doesn't-
to say, "Oh, well."
The
now I
exception
exclude it.
does
You
not
found it.
disprove the
Seasons-
rule. If anything, it calls attention to the existence of the rule.
Seasons 10 through 16 of Supernatural.
No,
I was just thinking about Supernatural. They become
Travis,
so-
you and
they
I
become
both
so
know.
absurd.
You and I both know that I'm never going to watch those seasons of Supernatural.
Yeah.
no.
Why would I?
Season 5.
Now, see, what I'm getting at is I'm going to take vibes over a fully coherent plot every single time. It's basically, if it's good enough, you won't care that there are holes. Like, it's the rule of cool, except, but for emotional devastation. Like, especially for this movie, it's not the plot holes that ruined it for me. Watching somebody's teeth explode and pulling chunks of wood out of his face, and I'm like, ugh, that poor child.
Yeah. CJ?
Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
me.
Okay, so in video game design, there's this idea of the magic circle, and the magic circle is like the world of the story that you are telling and how you are invested in that story. And I think that's a more concise way of saying, like, when have the plot, like, how much is too much for plot holes? I think anytime that magic circle is broken, where the audience goes, oh, that's unrealistic, or oh, how does that work? I think that is the line where a plot hole becomes something that becomes negative. And granted, that magic circle is broken at different points for different people, and a lot of that is based on their knowledge base or like things that they understand of that world. But really, when it comes down to it, is when you are telling a story, or when a story is being told to you, whenever something occurs in that story that takes you out of the story and makes you think, I am watching a story, or this is fiction, that's the line that you can't cross.
Yeah. You're making me think of a D&D, because D&D, I feel like Dungeons and Dragons, I'm sure everyone knows that's watching, but just to be clear, Dungeons and Dragons, I think, is often ruled by the rule of cool. And like, I've been in games where they're like, you have to do the book exactly how the book says, and I'm like, this sucks. Like, this is not where I want to be. But I think you've pointed to, CJ, like in stories, even in a story like D&D, where you can go way off the cuff and just do rule of cool, as soon as you break the mechanics of the book too far, even your players are like, that's not allowed. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, you said, wait a minute, that's not how this works.
Yeah, that's not how this works, and there's no buy-in. So like, even in a game that's super loose, like 5e edition or 5th edition D&D, there's still boundaries, and if you don't play within the boundaries, you're going to lose the people that you're trying to pull in. So I think you're right there.
Yeah, on the
boundaries create games.
Mm-hmm.
That like most games kind of are inherently ruled by some level of boundary. That's what makes it a game.
And honestly, with Bring Her Back, on my second viewing of the film, I had that moment of, wait a minute, that's not how this works. Pretty much like at that 50% point when they start like, so like in storytelling, there's this idea that through the first half, like up until that 50% mark, there's this idea that your protagonist is more or less reacting to the situation. And then at that 50% mark, there's a turning point where they become proactive and they go after the goal. And in Bring Her Back, that moment is when Andy's father shows up in the shower and he smacks his head, and he tells Andy that that Piper is going to die in the rain. And from that point forward, the story goes from we're dealing with this fucked up situation where we are these foster kids in this house with this crazy woman and this kind of weird stuff is happening, to Andy going, I need to protect my sister and I need to save my sister from this happening. But at that moment, the father showing up and this ghost thing appearing and warning him was breaking the rules of the film that were set up, because up until that point there wasn't any mimicry. There wasn't the Ollie character can eat different things and now he can talk in different people's voices, and there like wasn't any of that mythology in place. So that moment where the ghost showed up in the story broke that magic circle for me on the second watch of this film, where I was like, that's not how this works. And as soon as I say that's not how this works, I'm viewing this as a movie that's fictional rather than being completely immersed in what is happening.
Jeremy, I'm going to exercise my powers of moderator and say Clayton, then Jeremy, because he didn't talk in the last one.
I did, and I was going to basically say the same thing. But like, if all of us can sit here and say we enjoyed the movie, then something about it did work. Yeah. And it worked to a sufficient degree that I think most people who I've talked to about the movie have enjoyed it, who like that kind of horror. And like you guys were saying, it's a very specific recommendation. Like, I did tell my wife the same, like, she'll watch horror movies, but I was like, nah, you don't want to watch this one. She wouldn't have enjoyed it. So I think it's a very effective movie on a lot of fundamental levels too, that give it a lot more grace for any of its shortcomings, maybe as a script. The movie is perfectly shot. I mean, it's a beautifully made movie. They have like a lot of movement with the camera, but it's subtle movement, like lots of handheld camera work. There's a lot of like funky shots. They're really good at like capitalizing on violent imagery for maximum effect and kind of getting their jump scares without a big musical sting. They used like the actual sound of the violence as a sting, and I think that's really effective. Lighting's incredible. I thought the movie worked on so many levels that it's like pretty easy to not even care about if things necessarily make sense. I could definitely see your point. I could also imagine a world where that maybe is intentional. Again, like if this demon is still basically figuring out what it is, like it got into this little boy and it's just kind of trying things out. It can do all kinds of different things, but it hasn't figured out its angle. And eventually it's just like the easiest thing to do would be to just eat stuff. I'm going to do that. And then it starts doing that. I think maybe they did that on purpose.
And then at the end, it just says like, okay, I'm good. I guess I'm going to take off now. Because that's what happens at the end of the movie. At the end of the
party was a drag.
Yeah, he's like, well, I guess I'm not vomiting this soul into a new vessel. See you later. Like, what was that? Why does he decide to leave at the end?
Because he sees the beauty of motherhood.
So Andy has to drag him over the salt at one point in the movie, and then at the end of the movie, he's just like, do, peace out, welcome back, Colin Bird. Like that doesn't make any sense. Sorry,
they never refilled the salt. I don't think.
Jeremy,
hey,
neglected the yard.
I think there is a lot that doesn't make sense, and I also think it is easy to not care about what doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but the only thing in this movie to the point where I stopped watching, that made me wonder if things actually work that way is when Andy went to like the social worker, and that made me, and we find out like, oh, this person has been a social worker and counselor for many years, and we know that her child died pretty recently, and it made me wonder and actually look up who can be a foster parent in Australia. Now, it's not totally impossible for this person to have cleared the medical examination that would be required to become a foster parent in Australia. But, you know, I still can't get over the fact that, like, you have to wonder if you know somebody has like very recently lost a child, why would they even be allowed to like take in other children? You know that some creepy shit is going to happen, and creepy shit does happen. She makes a boy kiss a dead body. Why?
Yeah,
What
exactly.
the fuck is that?
Why is she doing? There were so many.
Not a custom. That's some bullshit.
So when I was watching this movie, the second time through, I kept asking myself that same question. Why? Like, why is she doing this stuff? What is the point of it?
I think I do have an answer for this that might be unsatisfactory, but I found her character, the whole trying to drive the wedge in between the brother and the sister, is because there's a part of her that knows how terrible it is what she's trying to do, and she's trying to get consent. She's trying to get like the sister to willfully give herself over and be like, I want to be part of your family. I want you to be my mom. And the only way she sees that possibly happening is if the brother's out of the picture, but she can't kill him, because then like the daughter's going to figure out and going to be like, okay, you killed my brother, I hate you. So she's trying to like make him look terrible and drive him completely bonkers and drive him away from his sister so that she can like coax her into this like this yes of like, okay, I want you to be my mom. And I think, but then it all, as soon as it like crumples, it crumples hard. And that's when she's like, nope, I got to make it work.
Yeah,
I love how fast it crumples.
Yeah, that scene where she's like asking her, like, would you consider staying here after Andy like moves on, like when he turns 18 and leaves? Like that scene was absolutely heartbreaking. Like for the Laura character, you're like, oh man, come on, Piper, just say you want to stay with this psycho lady. Like,
I mean, my heart would break if Laura was not like the absolutely worst person that maybe we've seen in this entire show. Because
I think there's a level,
but I don't think she's a bad person. She's like, that's what makes her so scary, is her empathy.
Yeah,
I mean, she pours piss on a boy. Like, what?
Well, she is bad, right? She's going through a bad period for sure. She's not like fundamentally a bad person at her core, or I get that sense that earlier in her life she was certainly not that person, and that did feel established to me. That I said that in my debate, I did mean that. I mean, I can see what you're trying to say though. But I ultimately think it's established.
I think
fully willing to kill two people.
Okay, I think the big thing that I see in her character that I found very powerful was that all the action she performs towards, I'm so bad with names, the brother, Andy. All the action she performs towards Andy, everything I've read about psychology, which in the last year and a half has been more than I've ever read in my life. I did a deep dive for some reason, but like she's using the good of psychology for evil. She's like turning this thing that can actually help people into a way of like completely breaking a human being. Like with exactly the scene you cited, CJ, where she's like, touch your dead father, kiss your dead father. It's custom. You have to do it. And they're like pouring pee on him and making him think he's wet himself. Like getting him to divulge this deep secret in a moment of drunkenness and be like, you trust me. And then the next day being like, he's an abusive piece of crap. He hit you as a kid. Like, I think I really liked how like her being an ex-therapist, an ex-social worker played into like, she has all these tricks in her bag that were good to actually help children. And now that she's got this singular focus in her life, she's like, I'm going to use everything I know about child psychology to break this kid.
But my question is, is that what she is doing? Or is she being genuinely empathetic in those moments toward the children? And I think that what makes her as scary as she is like during that moment with Andy, I think that she genuinely feels bad for him when she learns that he's being abused. Like in that moment, like I mean, at least Sally Hawkins, the actress playing Laura, pulls it off so well that you don't know whether she's actually genuinely being empathetic in these moments, or if she's doing what you're saying, Travis, and like doing it as a tactic and using her ability as a counselor to wreck him. Because I think that she genuinely cares for Piper and genuinely cares for Andy to some extent. And then she still does it because her daughter means that much to her. And I think that that's what makes her such an interesting, complex character is that like that internal struggle that she has.
I agree, because I think it's both. I think she genuinely wants Piper to be her daughter and consents to that. And she actually genuinely does feel the pain of Andy. But with Andy, it's like, but I need you out of the picture. So I'm going to do all this. But Clay.
Yeah, Travis convinced me. I'm going back over to that side. I think she maybe doesn't have the empathy that I came into this believing that she did. Because she does manipulate from the jump. Like, you can say whatever you want about feeling empathy. Maybe she's just enjoying time with other humans a couple times, but like that doesn't necessarily translate into empathy. And I feel like a lot of it did feel manufactured because of a good performance, intentionally manufactured. Because you cannot, she's like inherently distrustful on a fundamental level to me. She's from the jump manipulating Andy. So like, I don't believe a single thing that she says to anybody else. And I also see the way she treats Ollie, which is like as a complete vessel, a not even human thing, a child she just kidnapped off the street. So like maybe she was a good person for a long time, but right now in this movie, definitely not a good person. And it's the action she's the atrocities that she's committing and the damage that she's doing is like does kind of pass over a threshold. But I think that's great for her character as well, because you can argue both sides, and to me that means, again, pretty well put together story.
Jeremy?
Right. Well, I think, I will push back a little bit on that. She does demonstrate at least one commonly accepted definition of what empathy is. Because there were two kinds of empathy. One is like the automatic like response to emotions where you just sort of start feeling what somebody else is feeling around you, which pretty normal. It can happen. But there's also the other side of it, which is, more common and like a key tool for like counselors, therapists, social workers, whatever, where it's this sort of intellectual understanding of what people are going through emotionally. And she has that. And she also uses that as a weapon to accomplish her own goals. She's got empathy and she's evil. It can be both things.
That's true.
That's
true.
That's a good point.
Good point. I take back what I said, but I'm still on Jeremy's team.
One last pitch for my like kind of view of this movie and the view specifically of Laura is that I think that's what the ending is that even Piper, the character she shows the most kindness to, is still only shown kindness because she has a singular goal in her mind. She wants her daughter back. And that's the ending where she gives that goal up, is because for like the last pivotal moment, she finally sees Piper as a person, not just something that's going to help her achieve her goal. And so she sees a girl, and it had to be Piper because she didn't have a son. She had a daughter. And so Andy was never going to be that person that she saw and was like, oh, you're an actual human being that I'm like torturing. So it had to be Piper. And she sees Piper. She sees this blind girl that reminds her of her daughter. And for that last moment before the pivotal decision, she's like, oh, what have I done? And I think I loved that about Laura's character, because like everything she does that seems nice, that seems maybe genuine, is all just oriented towards that one goal. The title of the movie, bring her back, bring her back. And then the movie ends with her being like, holy crap, I've lost my whole being because I've been so driven by this. And look, I'm holding this girl that I'm about to like drown. And so she gives that up and holds her daughter's body. Because like, I think there's been so many other stories that do this very well, of like that parent character realizing, oh, this isn't what my daughter would want, or, you know, this isn't what all the revenge stories we can think of like, that's not what they would have wanted. That's what this movie does, but I think it does it to a really good lasting impact. CJ?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, and I think with it, what we've been talking about right now is actually what carries us through this film, is that the character work in this movie is really, really well done. All of the characters, every character in this movie feels like a fully fleshed out person that has these like real opposing forces inside them. We look at Laura and she's torn with what she's doing, and we look at Andy with his like his guilt and his regret for hurting Piper early on in his life and trying to atone for that. And so basically what I'm saying is like all of these characters are very, very strong characters, and that character work and the actors playing these characters doing such a phenomenal job with it is what carries us through and allows us to overlook a lot of those plot problems. Mm-hmm. So I think that going back to your original question about like how many plot holes are you willing to forgive? I think it kind of depends on like how well the characters are depicted, because a lot of people, when they come to films or they come to fiction, novel, whatever, like what they're really there for is that human experience. And this movie delivers that human experience so well that we're still invested, even when those plot elements aren't necessarily adding up. So I think that like character trumps plot in those circumstances. So so I think that that's interesting. As like an aside, when I was like researching this movie a little bit after the fact, Danny Filippo, the brother that wrote the film, was talking about his relationship with Bill Hensman, who is the co-writer, or who was the co-writer of it, kind of. And he said that, like describing their partnership, that the set pieces and character ideas were his, and Hensman's ideas were the structure and theme. And I think that the Danny Filippo just very, very much excels with that character work. Hensman, and I think that this is kind of an interesting factoid, is a pseudonym. Like, that's not a real person. Bill Hensman is not an actual person. It's the same writer that they had on Talk to Me. It's a pseudonym named after S. William Hensman, who was a character actor that was very prominent, like from the 1960s into, I think, the early 2000s or something like that. He's the zombie in Night of the Living Dead. So the name Bill Hensman is a tribute to this like horror character actor. My theory is that Talk to Me had a different Bill Hensman than Bring Her Back, because I thought that Talk to Me was structurally and thematically more sound than Bring Her Back. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about that.
Jeremy, you had your hand up first, and then.
Well, yeah. I mean, speaking to that a little bit, I don't know. I think there are a lot of like cool structural things on the script level that but basically everything goes to reinforce like characterization. I'll use like Laura as the example. Like her weird, like one of the weirdest things I noticed about her is like, oh my god, what kind of nightmarish person keeps their dead dog stuffed in their house? But like it all points back to her problem, like letting go of people that have passed and stuff. And that's just, I don't know. I think most of the script seems to have gone to reinforcing that and like building up character relationships more than it went into telling like the most cohesive narrative that could be.
Yeah, I think you have a good point, CJ. I will admit fully I'd have to go back and watch Talk to Me a second time, because I know I loved it, but it's one of those movies I haven't been around a crowd that, like, I usually rewatch movies with people, and I'm like, my wife will hate this movie. I'm not even going to suggest it. But I do remember it being very structurally sound, but hanging on the backs of its characters and its dialogue work. And I remember just thinking, like, through Talk to Me, one of my main thoughts just constantly was like, this is 100% how teenagers these days would treat a ghost. like they'd be like, oh, it's a party trick. We're going to like film it and put it on YouTube. Like 100% how it would happen. And I thought that was very honest to like the universe it's built around.
Well, and they're making a Talk to Me too.
Yeah, I'm very nervous. It's the same writers, same directors, so I have hope, but I just hate it when I don't know. I don't know how
it's just not necessary.
Maybe they wanted to. Maybe this was their plan all along. You don't know.
Maybe, and they'll surprise me. But to your point, though, I do want to comment on one more thing, and then if Clayton has a comment, and then I have my pretentious question to wrap us up. But I love that you said character can trump plot, and I think that's especially true for film, because I've been a director we'll never really get to talk about on here because he doesn't go into genre fiction. Richard Linklater, that's like the man's whole career. Like, if you sum up the plots of his movies, Dazed and Confused, what's that about? High schoolers in the 70s. What's Everybody Wants Them about? College kids in the 80s. That's the plot. What's Before Sunset? Oh, two people in Vienna just walking around. But like, the movies are so good because the people are so real and the dialogue is insanely compelling. There's like not even a plot to poke holes in those movies, but you don't care because you're glued to the screen, just living like vicariously through these people. So I think you have a point, CJ, of like, sometimes that is all you need for a good movie. And your plot can literally be Boyhood. What's Boyhood about? A boy like growing up. Having
a hood.
That's the plot. He's just a boy growing up through life. So I think that's really, really cool thing you pinpointed. Anyone else have another comment on all that before I ask my last question?
See, I'm just looking forward to a nice pretentious question.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready to be pretentious as well.
All right. I talked to Clayton about this earlier, so I'm going to give this to you first, CJ, obviously, as our guest. You've talked a lot about like structures that are very common and like make us enjoy stories, and like you're very good at pulling apart how the plot functions and flows and what points we can see the characters moving into the second half of the storyline and stuff. And I think that all comes from a long tradition of writing. And I've been obsessed with this idea lately of making good writers by imitating good writers, and making good filmmakers by imitating good filmmakers, to the point that you imitate so long that your style starts to become its own. And I think we've had a problem a lot with education in America, where it's been like, find your voice and your idea before kids even know what they're doing with a pen. It's like you can't really write your own ideas down if you don't know how to write. And so I just love to talk about that with someone who's in the business a little bit, about like, how much of this job do you think, like, is there a balance even, or is it individual to individual, of like how much of it is building off of the work that other greats have done, imitating until you find your own voice, and how much of it is like naturally you just have to move towards something that you want to speak to the ether?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's an interesting question. So a lot of writers start out with that with the idea of imitation. I don't know if you're familiar with Ramsey Campbell. Ramsey Campbell is a fairly well-known horror writer that started off with a lot of like imitation of H.P. Lovecraft, and he basically built his career on that. But then at some point in his career, his own voice kind of took over, and it stopped being an imitation of Lovecraft, and it became something of his own. And I think that all creators do that to some extent. And I think a lot of people that are early on in their writing career are imitating until they find their own voice. The idea of voice is an interesting thing, because even when you are imitating, you are bringing your own life experience to whatever it is that you're doing. So anything that comes into your imagination, anything that you're doing, anything that you're writing, any script you're creating, any short story you're writing, novel that you're creating, your own life experience is coming into play, your own vocabulary is coming into play, all of that. And really, I feel like the idea of finding your own voice is kind of a fallacy. I don't think that writers do find their voice. I think that writers decide that their voice is okay, because everyone has a voice. I'm talking to you now, you're talking to me, and the way that you tell a story, if you're sitting around with friends, if you're having drinks and you're telling a story about rats building a poop sculpture in your backyard, like, that's your voice. And at some point as a creator, you decide, like, the way that I tell a story is good enough, like that's the way that I tell a story, and I keep people entertained by the way that I'm telling this story. So I don't actually think that it's about finding your voice. I think it's about accepting your voice and accepting that this is who I am and this is how I'm going to tell a story, and the way that I tell a story is every bit as acceptable or every bit as good as the way H.P. Lovecraft tells a story, or Stephen King tells a story, or Cormac McCarthy, or like whoever you're looking at as a role model. And until you accept the way that you tell a story as being like a genuine form of creation, like a genuine artistic expression, then you're not able to actually like excel as an artist or excel as a writer. So that's where I'm at with it. People don't find their voices, people accept their voices. And once they accept their voices, their work will be elevated to a new level.
I think put that on a mug, CJ. I like that. People don't find their voices, people accept their voices. Clay?
Yeah, I like that idea of accepting your voice as well. I would approach it, I guess, in my mind, I approach it from a little different angle. It's okay to like go out looking to find your voice. I think just because something isn't unattainable per se, or like a comprehensible experience that you can like achieve and live within, that doesn't make it something not worthy of pursuit. I think there's all kinds of incomprehensible things, all kinds of incomprehensible things that are worthy of pursuit. Like you can make the same argument that love doesn't really exist as we see it, you know, the way we like picture it in pop culture or whatever, that where you're making the same commentary there, right? I'm losing my train of thought now. It's too late. Yeah. Jeremy, what do you have to say? I had more stuff, but I lost it. It just fluttered away.
Well, hey, you know, I think that mainly I'm agreeing with you and with CJ, and I'm just gonna say things that I'm like 100% certain I've said before on this show, which is that, you know, everything is derivative, but you know, and I'm 100% sure I'm also borrowing this line of thinking, is that writers are stained glass windows filtering what they have consumed through their specific viewpoint, style, and vocabulary. And like,
yeah, for sure.
So the idea that something might be less than or not your voice because some of it came from something else. Everything came from something else. You didn't invent this language that you're even writing in.
Yes,
guys.
that is the point I was trying to make, though.
Hey, it came back.
You don't want to get too scientific about it. Okay, it's okay to go looking for your voice. It's okay to go looking for love. It's okay to go looking for adventure. These things may not be tangible, but they might be achievable on some experiential level if you allow them to be. So enjoy the process of looking for your voice. And if you enjoy the process and you genuinely pursue the search for your voice, and that is a pursuit of improving in your craft, you will naturally imitate the things that have influenced you your whole life and the things that you are consuming at the moment. So like, you don't have to try to imitate things sometimes. I think you can live that experience of trying to write, and you will just naturally like imitate your favorite shows and your favorite movies and your favorite stories, and that's where you're going to start. And through that exploration, you will find something unique. We can definitively tell the difference between lots of different writers, even though there's millions of us. And that's something special about writing that I think is worthy of pursuit, though you may never find your voice. I do agree that that's fundamentally not possible, CJ, but I think it's still all right to go treasure hunting once in a while.
Yeah, you gotta look
be respectful about it if you do.
Yeah.
And you can tell the difference when something is your voice and is not your voice. It's why Eowyn Colfer's sequel to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series It's not good. Don't read it. It's bad.
Don't
Yeah.
It's
things.
bad and it feels wrong.
don't do it. It'd be like if Firefly was made by Michael Bay
Michael
Ooh.
Bay. Yeah.
and you were a
That's-
Firefly fan. Like, don't.
Don't do it.
Serenity made by Michael Bay.
One, I think I agree with Clayton even to a more extent. Like, it's not just okay to go searching for those things. I think it's what we're supposed to do. That's my philosophical take. You're supposed to journey towards those things. And two, I can't not do this. I've been doing an exercise with my students that I would highly recommend to any writers out there and any listeners. It's an ancient Greek writing exercise. I forget the name of it. It's some complex Greek word. But you take, and Benjamin Franklin used to do this with Latin. He would translate the Latin, and then he would into his own English, and then he would retranslate his English back into Latin, and he would compare the two Latins. I've been doing that with like old classics, but you could probably do it with any story. You take the bare bones of like, find a good, beautiful passage you like, take the bare bones of that passage, try and like translate that into just like basic plot structure, and then write that plot structure trying to imitate the author you copied from. And like, you come up with some really fun stuff. Like I did it with Tolkien's translation of Beowulf, and like I got close, but it was like my own kind of thing. Anyway, yeah, I highly suggest it. It's fun. Like even if you don't ever use it for anything, like I've just been doing it with my students every week, and I've been like, this is a blast.
If you want to be good at anything, you have to exercise.
Yeah, it's
you
a
have
blast.
to practice.
Highly recommend that one. It's been really fun to just take beautiful writing, write its bare bones summary, write that summary into my own imitation of the beautiful writing, and see what comes out. But that's all I got for questions. If anyone else has any other comments before Clayton brings us out, please. Floor's open. All right.
I don't hear any real eager beavers, so we'll carry on here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We are going to rate this thing, and then CJ is going to finish off that section and tell us one more time who he is, what he writes, where you can read it. Let's start with Jeremy.
Oh boy! So we're gonna start
you
off
didn't even
with
finish this thing. So how you gonna rate it?
So like, here's where we go with this, right? So first of all, you're gonna want to start with at least, I'll say, a shot every time you see a hog on screen. Like, you'll want that. It'll kind of ease you into things. There's more hogs than you would expect.
That's actually a sneaky, dangerous drinking game.
It's pretty dangerous, right? It's probably more dangerous than their game of just like, guess the number I'm thinking. It's 4. It's 4, guys. You know? But
I hope there's 4 slongs in this movie, so that was like a super cool.
God, that'd be
cryptic
so
hint.
good. I'm thinking of at least, I mean, who knows? I didn't finish the movie. I'm only thinking of 2.
There's probably one more at the end there.
Probably one more.
Mhm.
Probably one more, says Travis. So we'll say 3. And that's full shots. Also, you know, give a good drink, not a full shot, just a good sip whenever something that makes you personally feel uncomfortable happens. You know, whether that's, you know, pouring piss on a boy, or if that's the sort of intrusive thought you may get when you see her put a towel down and put a measuring cup on the towel when she is, of course, right next to a bathtub. Like, maybe just do it in the bathtub. You won't have to wash a towel. You don't have to. There's a lot going on here. You can do less and get the same result. It's fine.
That's
We're
fair.
fine.
That's fair.
Everything's fine. Okay? Depending on your own tolerance for whatever's going on in this movie, 10 to 20 drinks, not including the shots you have to take for hogs. So that's, yeah.
That's a
Hey,
pretty
guys.
mellow Jeremy rating.
Old Forester. What is this whiskey you're drinking?
This is the 1920 Prohibition style. It is a bourbon bottled at 115 proof.
I've noticed.
Sure.
Yeah. No, this is actually the highest proof anything I've had on the show, but hey, this is where we're at now.
This is where we're at.
Fantastic
And
work.
yeah,
Fantastic.
good stuff. I need to feel better after this. Thank you.
And the question is, how do you feel, Jeremy?
How do you feel? Is better
I'm feeling
the operative term?
better is exactly how I'd feel. Hey guys. Hey, hello America.
Hello, America.
What's up?
We're doing pretty good.
Why am I next?
Yeah, we're doing fine. Yeah, you could be
Yeah, why
next.
not?
Okay,
Do it.
mine's quick, quick and dirty.
Oh.
Maybe have one, maybe, and on top of that, lots of nice, like a Gatorade, and a balanced meal, because you might want to throw up at a few points, either from anxiety or from if you don't have a strong stomach for gore. There's a lot of things in this movie that can make you gag, and you might want not to have a lot of alcohol on your stomach for those moments, including the ones that have actual throw up in them, which always makes me want to throw up. So go into this one pretty sober. And I think that's a compliment to the movie of like, I did not want to have a bunch on my stomach while watching it. Or not a lot on my stomach, because that can also make you nauseous if you're like too hungry. So don't. Balanced meal, Gatorade, maybe one drink.
Sure. There's another way to fight that nausea, my friend. There's another way. There are two paths. There's multiple paths, I'm sure, but two for sure, because I know at least this other one, which is you get pretty ready for it. So I think you should go ahead and just start off with a pretty big. Let's do a pretty big pint show, like 16 ounces. I'm thinking. Yeah. Just hammer 16 ouncer so your stomach is completely full. Now you're going in, and then you should start a power hour, and you should do that power hour until Ollie is free.
See, this kind of it mostly reminds me of a story my dad would tell about when he was in sports, and he had a coach that would make the whole team run until somebody threw up. So the team elected somebody to just like eat a shitload of spaghetti right before practice.
Yeah. Nice.
And so they wouldn't have to run too long.
Smart.
Yeah.
CJ, how many drinks do you need to enjoy this movie to the fullest?
So I think that you're better off taking a page out of Clay's book in this regard and taking like several bong rips before you watch this film. And that way,
that'll do it.
That way you're like properly stoned enough to forgive all of the plot holes that it has and just invest. And then just invest in the emotion and the character, because you're not really going to follow what's going on anyway, whether you're sober or not. So yeah, I don't think that this requires any drinks, but I would definitely advocate that you smoke some marijuana beforehand.
That was going to be my rating, but I forgot. What are you going to do?
C'est la branche, you know?
You know what we won't forget? What, Travis? I had such a good transition teed up.
Well, I was gonna say I was gonna rate it 2 bone hits, but then I got high.
Yeah, totally.
So
That
good.
is literally what happened. That's what happened to plenty of this for me. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Fermented Fiction. But you know what we didn't forget? We didn't forget CJ Goldberg is here. But where is here? Relatively speaking, once you leave this show, CJ, where is here where people can find you and read your thing?
Okay, we got that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was getting there.
Yeah,
It was a little choppy.
You can find my stuff on cjgoldberg.com. I'm also on Blue Sky at CJ Writes Horror. That's my Blue Sky handle. And that's pretty much all of the social media that I can stomach. So that's where you can find me. I write horror and weird fiction. Would be awesome to check out my work. So this has been a blast, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on, man. We have been the usual doofuses, Travis, Jeremy, Clay. And that's Fermented Fiction for you, folks. We'll see you tomorrow when we're getting on the air with Wendy Wagner to debate him.
Yeah.
So come on over and check that out. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
There it is.
Hey.